won the Nobel Peace Prize. She's just an incredible, incredible human being. And unlike most 15-year-olds or 19-year-olds at this particular moment, she was celebrating her birthday, but to do so, she goes to places in need to shine a light on girls. And this trip happened to be to Dadaab, Kenya, which is the world's largest refugee camp. So I got off the plane with Malala and her father Zia and met this incredible group of young women who were part of this distance learning program at Vodafone. And I realized two things in that moment. One, that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And second, and perhaps more importantly, that a fraction of the cost of my bag could have sent a girl to school.
Absolutely.
So it was that moment where I thought, what if I created a multi-channel platform that allowed brands to sell luxury goods with doing good built into every purchase. So I came back and I talked to Givenchy and Jimmy Choo and Valentino and an incredible group of partners. Every single one of the brands that we spoke to said yes. So we launched with 12 brands about a year ago, and we're currently working with 250 brands. Started with 212 SKUs, and we now have over 8,000 on the site.
So that is correct. So for the room, literally, this percentage of these sales really go back, to a great cause and really help people.
That's right. Well, the power of it, of course, is we all love beautiful things. But isn't it amazing if the shoes you wear or the bag you carry actually sends a girl to school? So for everything that you buy on our site, you can see exactly how many days of school or what good that particular item is doing, which to me is if you can buy the same thing in two different places, why not do some good with it?
Absolutely, yes. So Shirley, question for you now. And please tell your story and your journey as well for those who are not as familiar. But I'd love to get your thoughts on what do you think the influencer marketing is going to become, and what ultimately do you say to those who think that it's just an oversaturated market? And I have a feeling you can talk a lot about this. Go for it. Go for it.
So, influencer marketing, that's why we're all here, right? And I've been on the brand side as well as agency and built my own presence. So I see it from a 360 perspective. Yes, more and more people are going into influencer marketing from an industry standpoint, but that's just the norm. Just like digital, there are different ways to spend. If you're at an agency, there's TV, there's banner ads, there's sponsored content, there's distribution. And before you had agencies, creators, you had models creating the content, and then you have publishers as the distributors. Now, creators can do both. Content creation as well as distribution. So all the power, more the power to creators. Influencer marketing is getting more accessible, more opportunities for you, even though competition is more fierce, but that just means you have to up your own game.
So what would you say to those out there that are maybe a little afraid to take that first, second, or fifth step to kind of elevate their profile because they do feel, the market is starting to become so saturated? What advice would you give them, simple and clear?
Absolutely. So Simon Sinek, we all saw the YouTube video start with your why, right? So then I would ask you, why do you want to build your brand? Do you want to create content? Do you have a brand you want to create? Do you want to just be famous? Like, what is your why? And then you can decide, okay, based on my why, do I want to become an affiliate for a brand? Do I want to start creating my own business? Or do I want to be a brand ambassador? Then you can pave your path depending on the route, which is your why.
I think that's excellent advice, And one of the things that I would just add on top of it is I think so many people are frozen in a state of fear sometimes, and they look at fear of failure, which Arianna Huffington once so famously said, failure is really just a stepping stone to success, and you should never fear that, because you always get something out of that in the end. So that's always something that I like to just put out there as well. So Cheryl, first of all, I have to tell you, everybody, all of the panelists, all these amazing women came backstage and said, are we sitting in that beautiful lounge area, not just some stage with stools? And I said, yes. Like, it's so homey, we're gonna have a chat. That's because you're responsible for this, so thank you very much. It's a beautiful place to sit and talk. Oh, we should hand you a mic as well. I'm sorry, I'm slagging on my duties of passing the mic. So I'm gonna ask you to talk a little bit about your journey and ultimately in becoming an entrepreneur, because you have an incredible story. But at the same time, is there anything you would have done differently? So you're imparting your words of wisdom. We were just talking about failures being a stepping stone to success, but sometimes it's also great to learn from those who found certain struggles within their world. So I'd love for you to share your story.
Thank you. Hi, I'm from Interior Marketing Group. We design this stage, and we design high-end real estate in New York to sell, and also interior design and things like that. My company is now 100 people strong, 90% of which are women managers, and we call it the Fempire. Many of us are here in the audience today, in fact. But this is my third business, so I have a great experience with failure. And if you can call it that, because really what it is it's a lesson it gives you a roadmap as to how to actually be successful, what not to do, which things to avoid. So I feel like it's essential to becoming successful. The other thing I think is important when you're thinking about turning passions into profit, in my opinion, is you have to not only have a passion for something, but you also have to understand the sacrifice of your life that you'd be willing to make for it. So I started out, I was broke and on my mother's sofa because I had failed in my first two businesses. I lost all of my money, 35 years old, bad. I wrote all these business plans about things I was passionate about, but then I got my real estate license because there was nothing else to do. I saw that if I staged these listings, it would sell faster. So that's how I fell into this business, and from that into a 100-person multi-million-dollar company, it might seem that it happened quickly and that it was easy, when in reality I spent 7 years doing nothing, not dating, not going out, working my ass off and struggling, working till 5 in the morning, cold calling, just hustling to get my business off the ground. And now I've got like an amazing group of 90 to 100 women and men working for me, and we do amazing work, and it's great.
Thank you so much for sharing that story in a very brave and honest way, because I think, we all forget that, the best lessons come from empty pockets, broken hearts. Wasn't it Anna Wintour who even said everyone should be fired once? Because you really need to, that's what really gives you that impetus to step up, step forward, do something different, and your success is clearly, a testament to your journey and your struggle, and I think that's really amazing to share. Thank you. So if I had to ask if anyone here really can answer this question, have you seen, first of all, what role did social media play in your success of your business in general, or just getting your specific message out there?
Thank you. I think social media is absolutely an essential element for anyone who's trying to build a brand today. I started doing what I'm doing because I was working with thousands of YouTubers, Instagrammers in 85 different countries, helping them rise to fame, as well as the top Fortune 50 companies to create brand messaging and brand products. Everything is on social media. And so that's why I thought, okay, no matter how big you are, there's always room for growth. And that's why we thought, okay, why don't we pool resources and help people grow together. I think social media also takes a really wholesome person, someone who's still grounded to really survive the long game, because you can to really eat at you at the end of the day. There was another study that says social media causes bad sleep because you're always up, you're always checking your phone. So it's really important to stay grounded and still remember, I go back to your why as to why you're doing this and how you're going to approach social media. So although it's very exciting to be in social media, also remember that it's a tool. You can't just live in the world of social media.
I love that you say that. That's a perfect stepping off point to kind of echo kind of the messaging of StyleCon in general, which is bringing the digital world and the community to the real world and real life. And you do have to remember we have to live in the real world. So I think that's important as well. Stacey, one last question to you. What was the best piece of advice you were ever given, whether it pertains to your business and ultimately your passion, which is incredible? What was the best piece of advice you were ever given, and by whom?
Can I choose two?
Sure, you can choose two.
Thank you. So the first, I think we spend our lives trying to get ready, feeling like we're not quite there. If I only do this, if I get this degree, if I get this job, if I do this thing, then you're ready to start your own thing. Then you're ready to do X, Y, or Z. So the first best piece of advice was, you're ready and just do it. All of you are a whole lot more ready to do the next big thing you want to do than you can possibly imagine. I got that very early on.
I love that piece of advice, yes.
And then the second one was from my mom, and that was saying thank you all the time and a lot. And I will tell you, I think it is a huge part of business success. Taking the time at the end of each day to thank those that you've been with. Building a business, as you know and you know, requires an incredible number of people that work with you, an incredible number of partners, investors, influencers, and making sure that you say thank you is one of them.
You know what I love about even the first piece of advice you gave specifically was that it speaks to true internal joy and happiness as well. Because I think if we're constantly thinking, oh, but, we put our joy and happiness somewhere else, and we forget to come back to the present moment, where there is joy. And that's when you find that's how you find the impetus to just go.
And that just belief in yourself. Like,
yes.
We all have so much locked inside. And believing that you can do it. You don't have to wait.
It's literally like a light switch, I'm going to pass the mic back over again to Cheryl one last quick question. So I think one of the things that I think everyone could learn something from is, when you have a business and you've grown a business to the size that you have, how do you keep things on track and keep your business focused?
When your business is 100 people large, it's hard to keep everything on track yourself. It really requires sort of an army of very talented people, because if you stand back and look at 100 different people's lives and careers, it's almost impossible to control all of that. So there's a sense of sort of delegating and putting your trust in some really talented managers to help keep everything on track, because as a founder, sometimes you're not the best manager of a huge corporation, but you're sort of a visionary. So the two things aren't necessarily the same. It really requires, I think, people who really know what they're doing, working with you, and keeping it all together.
And speaking of keeping it all together, you have to keep yourself together. So what would be the one thing that you do to kind of ground yourself before you dig into all the work?
I'm addicted to SoulCycle, and I find I have to do it every day or I start getting really stressed out. The endorphin high really calms me down and keeps me healthy, and that's my Zen place.
So I'll ask that question to everyone. What would be your kind of Zen thing to do to ground yourself from your whole world?
I love philosophy. I read a lot of Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, and also meditation. I think it's so good just to calm myself. My ring right here says "This too shall pass," and it's from philosophy. When you have such a fast world of social media and marketing, you just have to pull yourself back.